a warm welcome to Environment Today. Environment Today is a program that is designed to tell you all you need to know concerning environment in the South region, particularly here in Rivers State. I am Monica Ogwa. And today on the show, we'll be looking at ways to mitigate flood and what the Bayelsa State government is doing to protect the environment, plus our interview segments. All these and more after this break. In May this year, the Nigerian Meteorological Agency predicted that all South states and some states in the Southwest will experience coastal flooding. The report also revealed that 233 local government areas across the country are at risk of being flooded due to the current rains. And ahead of this impending flood, which has already started in Lagos, how prepared are residents in the South region? Watch our lead reports. Communities like Eneka, Rukboku in Obiakpo local government area and the 4 local government areas in Orashi region in Rivers State have a terrible history of flooding. In 2021, dozens of families were sacked from their homes after a devastating flood submerged some homes in those areas. So with the 2020 flood outlook, some residents in the impacted communities are now speaking on what they are doing to lessen the impact of this year.
Because it was last year this place was fixed. So after fixing, the flood now became double, the times of what we used to have here last year. So even my papers, I do pull office, my papers were soaked. Everything was just soaked. When we went to the house, before we come out the next day, the papers were already soaked after the rain. So, but on our own, we don't used to keep dirty around. We have started packing everything, anything that will bring flood around, anything that will make flood to gather anywhere to do them again. We now gather the dirty and throw them away in the night as instructed.
We are putting like something like sound here so that water will not enter inside our shop.
Margarine soak water, fish, almost everything. Even my neighbor that is doing pull office, all the papers was soaked. So we stop packing the tea everywhere, stop packing the tea inside gutter, so that the water will be moving.
But in spite of last year's impact, this set of residents seem unprepared to handle pending flood this year.
We have not prepared, but we are still hoping to the government, if the government can come and help us, because all the area and the street them, flood is much. Even the farms, if you watch the cassava farms, you will see that flood is destroying it.
As of last year, we suffer from, after this junction, small, like say we are going to redeem camp. But we thank God for this season, where they between this time. But we don't know how the team will take this year. But as of this year now, we never prepare. Somebody like me, I didn't have money to prepare because where I'm living, that's one area. So I don't know if government can help me.
For the National Emergency Management Agency, NEMA, it has put in place a mechanism to prepare people on how to confront the menace this year.
So the agency is prepared, and we have a pool of well-trained search and rescue officers that can respond to any type of emergency. So, like I said, we are prepared, and we are always on top of what we are doing. We use this opportunity to appeal to all of our stakeholders, especially the state and local government institutions, to also set up functional disaster management institutions, equip them and train them so that all hands will be able to mitigate the impact of disasters on Nigerians.
While the Rivers State government is yet to reveal its plans regarding the 2022 flood prediction, it might interest you to know that Governor Nyesom Wike had repeatedly assured residents of his administration's commitment to protect them. And in Bayelsa State, Governor Doyedire wants everyone to participate in protecting the environment. The governor made the call at a recent event put together by his administration to mark this year's World Environment Day.
Bayelsa State Governor Doyedire has warned against the dangerous effects posed by human factors to the ecosystem through unlawful environmental practices in the state. The governor, represented by his deputy, Lawrence Obrujakpo, warned against the dangerous effects posed by human factors to the ecosystem through unlawful environmental practices in the state. While emphasizing the importance of public health to sustaining the environment, he urged leaders and individuals to accept responsibility in ensuring environmental-friendly ecosystem by reducing pollutions and other lawful acts that will endanger the environment.
We therefore seize the medium to denounce every form of abuse and inimical practices against the environment, such as the uncontrollable harvesting of our wood from our forests without recourse to obtaining permission from the trained forest officers and replacing them. The indiscriminate and uncontrolled burning of our bushs, the use of dynamite and chemical for fishing, the unsustainable use of plastic, the dumping of refuse in our gutters, the unregulated use of herbicides for weeding our farms and neighborhoods and local farms, which threaten our environment and our water surfaces, the brazen disregard, pollution, and violation of our environment through unsustainable refining or artisan refinery of crude oil. This remains for us the greatest threat to our environment that is already polluted.
Senator Lawrence Obrujakpo used the medium to advocate the release of funds from both local and international agencies in partnership with the state government to tackle environmental challenges. He further highlighted that government has approved funds for diagnostic survey, environmental and social impact assessment, which will enable the state to tackle climate change and establish eco-laboratory in the state.
Local and international agencies and partners are further encouraged to mobilize more resources to strengthen our hand to deal with the issues of environmental in Bayelsa State. I am glad to mention that I have approved funds for diagnostic survey, visibility studies, and environmental and social impact assessment on all the projects that we are embarking upon. This provides the opportunity for Bayelsa State to pursue interventions related to climate change and smart agricultural projects. To properly position the State Ministry of Environment is hereby directed to locate a land for the commencement of the Bayelsa State Central Nursery and the establishment of the world-class Eco Laboratory.
The guest speaker, Professor Miti Angayawe, a professor of environmental science at the Niger Delta University, who described the Earth as a red zone, said it is in a terrible situation due to the unlawful human activities. He said about 62% of the index in rating life on Earth has been used off, as he advocates regular tree planting.
And if nothing is done in the next few years, 32, 38 years or thereabout, the whole Niger Delta and the head will be in a major problem. My prayer is that going forward from this point, we're going to take the deliberate step in ensuring that our environment is properly defended, is properly protected, and is properly restored.
In his remarks, the State Commissioner for Environment, Iselema Barambiri, said the state will drive policy frameworks that will advocate for change in managing the environment in the state.
The Bayelsa State Forestry Draft Bill, the Bayelsa State Environmental Management and Protection Draft Bill, the Bayelsa State Special Waste Management Draft Bill, the Bayelsa State Sanitation Safety Policy, the Bayelsa State Environmental Vanguard Draft Bill, and the Bayelsa State Decade on Ecosystem Restoration.
The high point of the event was the planting of trees by the Deputy Governor, Senator Lawrence Obrujakpo, the Commissioner of Environment, Chairman, Traditional Rulers Council, amongst other guests, to flag off this year's World Environment Day.
My guest today on the show is the South-South Zonal Coordinator of National Emergency Management Agency, NEMA, Mr. Godwin Tepikor. Mr. Godwin Tepikor will be talking to us on issues concerning flood. Welcome to the program, sir.
Thank you for having me.
We are glad to have you join us.
It's my pleasure being with you.
Sir, let's start by asking you what the agency is doing in states under your control to mitigate flood. We are already aware of the predictions, and you're the one that has been sensitizing us on how to go about it. But first, we want to know what NEMA is doing so far to ensure that when the flood comes, people won't be taken unaware, going by made prediction. It was an alarming prediction that all South states would experience coastal flood. So tell us what you're doing so far.
The National Emergency Management Agency is an agency of the federal government that is saddled with the responsibility of managing disasters and all their ramifications. And the core function of the agency as enshrined in the Act is that of coordination. Coordinating all other stakeholders who have one business or the other to do in disaster management. In particular, the flooding, what we have been able to do as an agency, and indeed at the South Zonal Office, is that of creating awareness, carrying out sensitization campaigns amongst the states under the South Zone and the communities. Just recently, we have had the opportunity of carrying out sensitization awareness campaigns in the Orashi region of the River State. We are aware the Orashi region consists of 4 local government areas that perennially suffer flooding. These local government areas are Abua Odwa, Ogba, Egbe Mandoni, Ahoda East and West. What we did this year was to take this campaign further to the grassroots. In the past, we just bring stakeholders together and we discuss. But now we felt that the communities that are directly impacted by this disaster are brought on board. So what we did was to take the campaign to the communities where we invited the CDC chairman, the youth and the women leaders, and in collaboration with the State Emergency Management Agency and the local government councils to sensitize the local communities on ways and means to mitigate the impact of the flooding as predicted. So that we have done.
Yeah, so we are aware that NEMA always bears the brunt when disasters like this occur. What should state governments do to assist the agency in carrying out its job effectively in case of any emergency?
Well, your observation is right, because the tendency is that every little disaster, whether it's within the coping capacity of the local government or the state, everybody runs to NEMA, because they feel that NEMA is a federal agency that has all the funds. But that is not true. The Act establishing the National Emergency Management Agency also provides that states and local governments should set up their state emergency management agencies and local emergency management authority or committees, as the case may be. And these are institutional frameworks that are being provided for by the Act, so that since we run a 3-tier system of government, each tier of government has a role and responsibility to perform in disaster management. So what we want to appeal, as always, is that states should be able to strengthen their state emergency management agency and local emergency management committees, so that the local government emergency management committee is supposed to be the first responders in the case of any disaster, so that before it will get to NEMA, at least the affected persons would have been responded to. The affected persons would have had some form of relief, because National Emergency Management is in Abuja up there, but the local emergency management committee is supposed to be the one that will respond at the grassroots level. When it is beyond their capacity, they can let the state know for assistance. And if it's beyond the capacity of the state, then the federal comes in. So, like you said, we are being bogged by a lot of demands because certain states and certain local government councils are not doing what they are supposed to do. So I want to use this forum, this opportunity to also make further appeal and advocate the need for states and local government to set up these institutions.
Oftentimes, some environmental experts refer to some flooding as man-made. According to them, it's due to the attitude of residents to the environment. How will you describe this? What's your take on this? Do you see attitude of people around the flooded areas contributing to flood?
When we talk about disasters, there are disasters that are natural. Natural in the sense that it is beyond the capacity of man. Man does not have hand in its occurrence. Yeah. Some people refer to it as an act of God. We have disasters that are man-made or man-induced. Those are the ones that are caused by human activity, anthropogenic activities, man interference with the environment. So it's true that there are man-made disasters like flooding. And how does man exacerbate flooding? One, poor waste management. You and I know that when human beings begin to dispose their waste indiscriminately, the tendency is that when there is heavy rainfall, rain will wash these debris or waste to somewhere. And largely, they are washed into the drains, into the river bodies, into the gutters and drainages. So, in the course of heavy rainfall, and because water must naturally find its own level, what happens is that water, as it moves along its course, if there is any obstruction in its path, it will overflow. And once it overflows, it becomes flooding. So that is one way man can contribute to it. Again, there are areas we call floodplains. And human beings, for whatever reason, decide that they want to develop property on the floodplains. And again, if you talk about the coastal areas, because it's been predicted that the coastal communities will be flooded. If you walk around town, people have started to make merchandise out of mangroves. They commercialize them. These mangroves, God didn't just put them there for fun. They are kept there to act as water speed breakers, to act as buffers to these communities. So I want to use this forum to appeal to coastal communities to protect their mangrove reserve, because they serve a very important function to protect these communities from coastal flooding.
You know, you can go on and on if we allow you, but we are hoping to bring you back on the program very soon to talk on other environmental issues. Thank you for your time, sir.
It's my pleasure.
That's all we have for you this week. Thank you so much for being part of the program. But always remember, a better environment brings a better future. I am Monica Ogwa. Bye for now.